There are 1.8 million scholarships available every year. And they total something in the neighborhood of $23 billion. That's a lot of
Oh
money.
my gosh.
That's a lot of cash. And that's what's given away every year.
This is an incredible story about how one homeschooling mother took charge of the entire college funding experience. Her children won over $200,000 in scholarship money, completely paying for their education. And now she's sharing her extensive knowledge with others through her book, Get Ahead of the Class. She also offers online consultations and workshops on funding your children's education at getaheadoftheclass.com. What motivated Denise Thomas to do this? When the oil and gas industry and the stock market simultaneously tanked in 2008, she and her husband lost everything. But what they found was a path to a debt free college life for their kids, and now for yours as well. Denise, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, Pat. My story began many years ago when my husband was working for corporate America, like a lot of people do. And we were quite comfortable, doing quite well. He had worked his way into some really good spots and was doing well financially. We had even purchased and built our dream home, the house that we thought we would retire in. But not long after that, matter of fact, the house was just about complete. We were just moving in, and things started to shift in the company. We started hearing, words of people getting laid off potentially and things like that. And we weren't really worried because he was never in the line of layoffs. He was never among that group of people. He had been with the company for 15 years. But we still sort of, were on a little bit of pins and needles. And sure enough, he did get laid off. So here he is coming downstairs with his box in hand because they walk you out. These are the big companies that walk you out. They don't give you 2 weeks notice. And he was in the elevator and he got a phone call from another company asking if he was available. So lo and behold, he had another job. Yay. So my guess is he didn't feel so bad about telling me he got laid off because he got another job right away. So that was cool. But still, I'm a former realtor and I'm one of these people who doesn't take any chances when it comes to we're going to have to sell the house. So I went ahead and put the house on the market. He's in this new job, but within just a few months, he got laid off again. You see, what I realized is that in the industry that we were in, we weren't paying a lot of attention to what was happening outside of ourselves.
What industry was that?
Oil and gas. And the entire industry was having issues. It was that time of the cycle, I guess you could call it.
Mm-hmm.
And he got laid off that second time. And then soon after that, the stock market crashed.
Was this 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we suddenly had less than half of what we thought we were going to retire with financially.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
I mean, some people say they got through 2008 and they didn't see any great repercussions. I wonder where they were living.
Where their money was,
Yeah.
exactly. Obviously, they had it under under the mattress, maybe, but we keep paying the bills. That's what we do. We just because you have no job does not mean you stop paying bills. You have obligations. You pay the bills. So we continued, with our house note and other bills that we had to pay, and that money came out of what was left in savings and what was left in that 401k because we had to keep taking it out, withdraw to pay things.
And pay penalties.
And pay penalties, absolutely, because we were still young. At some point, I'm not exactly sure how many months, but it wasn't that long. Sometime in the 6 month to 8 month range for sure. I looked at the finances and realized we can't go any further. We have to declare bankruptcy. There's nothing left. The bankruptcy was liquidation. I know a lot of people look at bankruptcy and think, oh, it's just a piece of paper. It's not. Everything you could touch had to be sold because you got to pay the bills.
Now, there are two types of bankruptcy, aren't there?
Correct.
11 and 13. What are
Correct.
the differences? Do you know offhand? Do you recall?
I would have to do a little more searching because it's been a while. I don't
Yeah,
recall the
yeah.
differences. But this one was, more of a personal bankruptcy, and we had to sell everything that we owned. The house went into foreclosure. Things that we sold or had to sell were things like books, toys, Christmas decorations,
Mm.
pots and pans, furniture. Really, really everything had to go. We had to move into a small apartment, and that meant that our 2 dogs had to go as well
Oh,
because they don't take big dogs. We had 2 really big dogs.
were you able to find a home for them?
We were. It was probably the saddest thing I ever had to do was to watch them get driven off by their new owners and watch my children run into the house crying. That was very, very difficult. But with the bankruptcy, we had just enough left to buy a lawnmower and trailer, and my husband mowed lawns to put food on the table. That was the new job, mowing lawns. So we moved into the small apartment, and probably within just a few months, it suddenly hit me that my daughter was starting high school. And I realized college was around the corner. How are we going to pay for that? We have no savings, no 401k to borrow against, no house to borrow equity from. And that bankruptcy, that means we can't co-sign for those student loans everyone loves to talk about. I think that's the part that gets me the most is that people love to talk about the high student loans. Those kids don't have those loans. Honey, that's the parents. The parents and grandparents have to co-sign for those loans. Your kid can only get a small amount in student loans, equivalent to about a new car loan, to be honest with you, by themselves. Everything else, all those big numbers, somebody's co-signing for that puppy.
What happens when the children become adults? Are they then responsible for that loan, or are you forever a cosigner on the loan?
Number one, read the contract.
Yeah.
That contract for that loan could be 19 plus pages long. Read every single word and understand it. There is a clause in there that might say that the cosigner, how does the cosigner get out of this puppy?
Hmm.
And generally that means that the student has to reapply with their actual income, like a adult job type income for a certain period of time, and with a credit score, decent credit score.
Do you think most parents realize what they're signing?
Absolutely not. I don't think that they understand that this is going to affect their buying power in their older years. That trip to the Mediterranean you want to take, or that second home you want to buy, or what have you, that's going to affect that buying power in your 50s and 60s while your kid is still paying off that loan. Just saying.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think that they get it. Uh, and it's that bankruptcy took that off the table for us. Not something we were going to have to deal with. That's great, but now what? What's the answer at that point? I figured there had to be something that I was missing, because not everybody has loans, and not everybody, is a student athlete going to college on scholarship.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's an extremely small number, like 2%. So if you think your kid is going to college on an athletic scholarship, think again. And then there's the other group of kids that maybe their mom and dad scrimped and saved or were independently wealthy and they could just write a check. That's awesome. Then there's another group that the kids are brilliant and they're getting full scholarships.
Hmm.
That's 1% of college students, by the way.
It's that
1%.
high. Wow.
Yeah, that I. And then there's another group of kids who lack the financial resources. Maybe they qualify for the Pell Grant. Pell Grant, by the way, is not a large amount of money. The Pell Grant is intended for your child to attend a local, regional college and live at home. So they're not going to something fancy with the Pell Grant. It's to cover tuition mostly for something local, and they get the degree because the goal is the degree, not something fancy.
So how did you, I mean, you got slammed numerous ways. How did you deal with this whole college situation?
I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of tears going on.
Yeah.
A lot of tears. And because I homeschooled my kids, we didn't have a high school counselor to guide us through any of this. Come to find out in my research, high school counselors are not able to deal with this. I mean, I'm sorry to
Yeah.
say it. This is not their forte. The vast majority of high school counselors are dealing with at home problems or at school problems with kids. And you'd be lucky if you're at a high school that has a separate college counselor who
Mm.
only does that. And even then, they're not working with all of the kids. They're working with the ones, generally speaking, who are going to do well. They're the ones taking all the AP classes, and they have all the A's, et cetera, and great SAT scores. So your kids still may get left out. But as a homeschool family, tag, you're it. You're the high school counselor. Now what? And I started doing some research. And that research is what led me to understanding a lot more about how this system works and what we're doing wrong. Because again, my kid was just starting high school, so she was a freshman. And I'm doing some research on the computer, and my girlfriends are telling me, hey, wait till junior year for that. It's too early. Because that's what we're told. We've been told wait till junior year for that for 30 years. But that's part of the problem. Because the only thing you want to wait till junior year for, well, honestly, nothing, to be honest with you. Don't wait till junior
Yeah.
year for anything. The waiting is putting your child at risk of not having the assets in place that they need for both college acceptance and winning scholarships.
I mean, some of these programs are competitive, so you have to get out there early, don't you?
Absolutely. But it's not just that. It's getting the actual, I say, assets in place. It's having the activities that colleges, and it's not the activity itself, it's the conglomeration of activities for that individual student, that individual teenager, that means something to the child. It's what has meaning to you. A lot of parents still believe activities, the activity list, should be the jack of all trades, a little bit of everything,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. Because you have to remember, there are things that colleges are looking for. Yes, grades, GPA, test scores, very important. Absolutely. Don't let anybody tell you test scores are not important anymore. No, they still are.
Yeah.
Always have been. But let's talk about your kids' activities. That's where you set yourself up to be a little bit different from everybody else. Because let's face it, every high school's got the same classes. Everybody's got English, math, science, et cetera. So how do you differentiate yourself from others? And that's where your activities come in.
That's actually a really good question because if you think about it from a college admissions perspective, I mean, there are just thousands of these kids that look almost identical.
Right. And they have to, for colleges, it's a task because they have to try to figure out how to play evens between a kid going to this school and a kid going to that school.
Yeah.
And what happens there is the high school counselor produces what's called a counselor's report or a school report. And what that tells the college is how many AP or honors classes are available to take and how many did this student actually take. That kind of gives them an idea. Because if high school A offers 9 AP classes and high school B offers 2, well, that doesn't seem very fair to compare those two students in that way. So colleges have their own formula that they use to help even the playing field between those two students so that when they're making decisions, they're making the right decisions.
Now, you actually did so much research. I mean, you turned this into a business. This is such an impressive story. Talk about what you did and how your children benefited. I mean, this is just amazing to me.
Well, it wasn't the intent, I'll be honest